everyone. This is Mac with Emergency Reporting. Going to kick off our N2 to N3 migration call this morning. A little training event we're putting on to try to help our customers move from N2 over to the N3 or NEMSIS 3 accounts. So now that you see my screen, what we're going to be doing, of course, we've logged into the account. Today, we're not going to be going through every little detail of an incident, because I think y'all have been doing this for a while and you understand that part. I will show the differences and what it looks like, but we're not going to be actually putting in that call. What we want to really focus on during this meeting is actually what you're going to have to do, or what I would suggest you do as soon as you get your account. If you go to the admin portion, we'll show that of how to actually set up your account. Now, you should already have your support login and stuff. So if we click on support and we go to our support page, of course, you can go to the knowledge base here. And if you scroll down, you'll see the N3 information, of course, the setup. These are some things you can go through again after this to make sure that you've got your information. And if something you say, well, I remember Mac mentioning something about this, but I don't remember exactly. If you'll scroll through these, you should be able to find out what we're talking about. But let's go back to the account now. So where we're going to spend most of our time here, I was going to also let everybody know before we get into that, is I have Krista Richardson. She's actually our product owner in here. We have Brittney Bush. She's actually our implementation manager, our lead. She's actually working on that for you to on that end to get you moved over and stuff. So she's a contact. We have Todd Lambert. He's one of the regional trainers, full-time regional trainer. Have myself. I'm the training lead. And then Mark Wolf is also the international training lead. He is online today with us to help answer some questions. So if you have any questions, they'll be monitoring those. So if you would just type them in for me, and they'll come on and discuss when we get some questions in there. Okay, so if we go, I'll be using my training account here. Now my training account's actually tied to the Alabama N3 account, so we have a lot of different things we'll look at there, some extras and stuff, but you got a very good setup in here that you can see so that you can get to it and really help you out there. Okay, so we're going to move down to the bottom. So we want to go to administration module. We'll click on administration module, and you'll see here the incident settings. You see that now it's different from the N2. You've got the different some extras, or some of those have been taken away, and then you've got some new ones in here. Right now, your accounts probably will be mixed. You're going to have some N2, but you're going to be able to go ahead and get in there and start setting up your information for your N3 account before that changeover this particular time on September 16th. Okay, so if we go into destinations, you can see I've got two of them in here. Just make sure if you've already got destinations. I believe we were looking at an account last night for one, and I talked to them, and it's actually showing your destinations already in there with their code names. So we want to make sure, so if you go to add destinations, or if we click on one, we want to make sure that code number and these are matching up. Either this is one, we can call it whatever we want. We just want to make sure that this is correct, and then fill the information out through here so that you have that information set up per the NEMSIS 3, just to make sure it's the same. If not, make your adjustments there. Okay. Now, if we'll go back to the admin, hopefully this is pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, most of these should have come over with your change or your migration, just to make sure those are correct. We can go back to administration, and we'll look at patient forms. Now in patient forms, there's a area in N3 that you can actually go in and make forms for your personnel and your patients and witnesses and stuff to sign, like on a tablet or on a any computer you have, or even your phone that you can write on. That's a touch screen. So they can actually sign documents and stuff, and it will save with that PCR that you're doing on there. So you can add different forms. So we'll look at this patient refusal. So if we look at this one, we'll be able to go in, you can name it. I just named it patient refusal, very short, whatever content you have. If you have a legal person, or you have one like on a paper form now, you can type that in right here so that you still have that same legal documentation or content, if you will, on your form in your digital copy here. So these reasons, okay, of course, anything red is a required field. So for reasons, what this is, if we drop this down, you'll see all the reasons listed here that, you know, any of them that you highlight or check will be when this form actually comes up in the PCR that it needs to be filled out. So when you check here for your reasons you want it, and then also in the next one, dispositions, here we can drop this down, and same things for all of your patient dispositions of when do you want this particular form filled out or done within the PCR. Okay, you can check active or inactive. If you're still building one, I would just make it inactive. That way it doesn't kick it off before you're ready. Okay, and then also signature required for the crew and for whoever you want signed. So it's the patient or patient representative in this case, the crew, one of the crew members, and then a witness. Okay, so these will be the 3 signatures that we need on this particular report. Basically the same thing you're doing on your paper copies or however you're doing it now. Okay, so we would go in and save, and I'll show you just to add a blank form. This is what it looks like. So we're coming down and we get to name all that and pick our different requirements that we want. Okay, and here's the HIPAA form. If you're doing that, I just copied this particular thing off of the internet. You can type your information in, and then when we need those forms, and of course just patient signature there. All right, if for instance you want both members on your apparatus, so say for refusal of treatment or patient refusal or anything like that, you want both of your crew members to sign, you can actually add a healthcare provider, and that would just be their signature. So then you would have both crew members on that apparatus sign. Okay. All right, guys, we have any questions yet? Everybody tracking along pretty well?
No questions yet, Mac.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the next section here, required fields and customizations. Okay, when we click into this one, this is going to look very familiar. You've had already, but now instead of, you're going to have N2 still currently, but you'll also have the N3 section. So when we look at the N3 section here, you're going to have some of the new things that we've got on N3 enabled. Of course, enable frequent flyer. What that's going to do is any person that you have put into your system, once you put them in and you get them in there, and I'll show you a little bit more when we actually get into the settings and stuff, or into an incident, but it will require your first name, last name, DOB, or first name, last name, SSN. And then it will come up with a pop-up and says, hey, you ran this patient on so-and-so, do you want to use this patient? And if it's the same one, you click yes, and then it fills out not only all of your, what I call the demographics, the patient information, it'll fill out your patient history and any medications, and also their billing information. To whatever you put in that previous time you ran them, all that's going to be filled in for you. Okay. We've got collect not values. And this one here is exclude inactive personnel from demographics export. I don't believe you have to do the demographics in Washington, so you should be fine. But if your state requires it, you want to make sure that is checked so that you do not send your inactive personnel to the state for their demographics. Okay, as far as this next one is to enable N3 state submission warnings. This is very important for the different states because some states go above and beyond the national standard. So each state has their own schematron or selections that they've made that are required for that PCR. That's why each individual RMS system that has the PCR has to go to that state individually and say, okay, this is what do you want? We configure that to make this happen. So Washington is one of our states. So if you want to have that anything they change there, you'll be able to say, so you want to make sure that's checked. Okay. Now this one here is sort of new, but they also have not only errors that come up, they have warnings on some of them that say, well, this is not a actual, it's not going to go through, but it does have warnings. Excuse me, some states actually will kick the warnings back also. So this is to enforce the warnings. So it will not let you authorize that PCR until all of this information is corrected. It's what both of these do, okay? Now, this one here is enable options to pre-fill normal exam values. Here again, your system, as soon as we make this change, is going to work. You can put PCRs in, but it's not going to be as easy. You're going to have a lot of information to fill out, more than what they will have. So we're trying more than what you know, the EMT or paramedic that's doing the PCR, they'll have a lot more to fill out if you don't correct some of these and really get them in there, or the state will kick them back. Okay, so on this one, this actually will be unchecked. So if we check that right there, we'll actually be going down and we can actually check or uncheck these and then select what we want them to say. So we'll go to normal. And then all of these will actually default. There'll be a button within the PCR that you can click. All these are normal. Then they can go down and say, okay, well, everything was normal, but when we done the chest and lungs, they were rattling or whatever. So we could just change that one instead of having to click 2 or 3 times to pick all of these down through there. So it just speeds up the process, okay? Your ICD-10 codes, I believe y'all still have those in your N2 account. So this is where you can go in and maybe just check the ones that you use. This does get pretty elaborate, just like here, Orca. I've been up in the northwest there, and to be honest with you, I don't know that this has happened. And if it has, I'll be honest, it would probably be more of a cardiac issue for me than any of these. So as you can see, they're very extensive and very detailed. So you can go through and check just the ones you want to use. That's just something you can do. Probably going to be the same as what you've got already, okay? Then you've got select protocol codes. Now in here, in your protocols, this is the ones that you may use for your different agency that you use, that you have for your state. Now, granted, these may not be exactly worded just like your state. This is just the actual first words in it. It doesn't have that detail to it of what you do for that protocol. It's just naming that protocol. The states know this, and that's going to be okay. This actually goes into your account. You'll see here in a little bit where you can pick those. They understand that, so not a big problem there. But I would go through and put the ones that you normally use. It's just going to clean that list up a little bit for you. Okay, so takes us to certifications. Now, certifications, you've probably noticed you have a bunch of them. There's going to be doctors and everything else in here. What you could do is, if you're never going to have those on there, just clean those out. Keep the ones that you need for your department. And then what you're wanting to do, say for an advanced EMT here, if you'll click on medications or click on that, it's going to open up where you have medications. So within these medications, there's a drop down that you can see. Go down through that list and click just the ones that that particular certification level can administer. It's because later on when you're doing that and it says that, okay, this advanced EMT issued a certain drug. If it's not in their list here of medications they can use, the system will actually say, hey, you can't administer that. That's outside of your scope of practice. So that's what this will do. So you want to try to limit those or put those down how you want them through the medications for the different levels or certifications you have. Same thing with procedures, okay? The procedures are down here. Same thing for airway advanced, what they can and cannot do. You can just check the ones they can and update those per your different certification levels. Okay, any questions there, guys? Everybody tracking good?
No questions so far, Mac.
Awesome, awesome. We do have people over there, right? All right, so odometer readings. Now this is if you want to track odometer readings for you that bill, which I'm sure there's several that do. So you want to come in as the dispositions. When do you want odometer readings to be tracked? For most, we just want this one here, when they are treated and transported by this EMS unit. Okay, so, and we can check whatever others we want to check there that mileage will be required or be collected. This maximum allowable transport miles is just, you can put your max in there so that that's the max that they're going to get charged for. Okay, and then the medical billing, this will be more of in line, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, all of you have the same, pretty much that I've heard so far have the same medical biller. So this stuff will be configured, I believe, on Ari and Brittney. Am I correct there? Brittney or Krista? They may not be able to come on right now. They may just be monitoring. So we'll see there. But I believe that is correct. This should be configured already. We've already had contact with them, and they'll be moving you over for the ones that bill. Okay. If there's no questions in this area, we'll go on to the next one. Okay. Most of these are not have anything to do with that. Now you will have your medical billing export here that you will see, so you'll get to see that. This one really doesn't have anything in it, but it's from what I remember, it's pretty much the same as what your N2 is, but that's where it's located here. You can change it through here. You'll have the NEMSIS 3 medical billing and NEMSIS 3 information in there. Okay. Okay, then we can go down to the next important part, is this one right here, EMS agency settings. Okay, now on the EMS agency settings, you may be a little different than what you've seen before if you've already set this up. We've changed this a while back, but this is what we're looking at, your agency settings, your type of response. This is a drop down. Okay, then other types of services, what all you do. Okay, and then your EMS agency specialty. Like I said, when we drop this down, there's going to be this list here. When you click it, then it's going to come in like these are. So you can actually take some of those away or something like that as you need. Same thing, patient monitoring capabilities, what all that you can monitor. All right, your level of service, not your overall level of service for your department. Okay, organizational type, same thing, it's a drop down. You'll be able to fill those out. Agency organizational tax status, organization status, whether you're all volunteer, career, mixed, whatever the case may be. Your national provider identifier, and this is only the ones that bill for service, so you'll have that information, you can put that in. If you have an EMD with your dispatch, you can put those in, whatever that is. Do you have that EMD dispatch? And, you know, do you bill for some segments of the patient population or whatever? Yes, no. And then your dispatch center, the CAD name or ID. And then here is another one that you sort of different, I believe, than what y'all were doing. If not, you will need to do this for, these are census tract numbers. So you want to check where you're at. So to find out your census tract, you can follow this link. If you click on it, it's going to open up a screen for you. And then you can go down into that area and actually find those census tracts for wherever your area is here. Okay, so you can put those on there. And it should come up with those tracks. So you'll see census tract 106. You can add those tracks in to where your coverages are. So you want to add those in there. Okay. All right, and then of course your agency service zip code. And then if you use the daylight savings time, please check that. All right, and then your agency contacts is the next tab here. Of course, you want to put your medical director and then any other people that are in your department, say your department lead or whatever, EMS officer or whatever in here. And then of course, the last one here is statistics. And you could add new statistics in just to see and add those in across the time here of what you have. Okay, and you can have, if you have, you'll have a drop down up here to set those. So that's your agency settings, or EMS agency settings. Any questions there?
Still good.
All right, so we'll go back over to administration here. Now that we have those in there, this is something coming. I know y'all have heard that. They're working on it right now for the ZOL. So if any of y'all have a newer ZOL, you'll be seeing information about these coming out shortly. Okay, this is still in test. Mine's a test account, so that's why those are in there. All right, the next thing we want to look at is personnel. Now you can do this through the training if you would like, but one thing we want to look at, let's go to first right here to the certifications list. So you'll see the NEMSIS certifications. Okay, if we go to certifications instead of the types, we'll go to certifications and you'll see these listed here. There again, you should be able to get rid of the ones you don't have anybody in. Okay, so you want to list them in here. If y'all remember, those of you that have been around long enough, back in 2009, most states required us to, even if we didn't change, they sort of gave us new licenses and they changed it and put a 2009 in there. That's actually was in preparation for this NEMSIS 3 stuff coming out. So these are the only ones that's going to work in your system that the state will notice in N3. So we need to make sure we get those changed over to these 09 or whatever your state is requiring for that N3 look. Okay. So if we go back to administration, now we'll go to the personnel list. So if you look at a person, I'll just pick myself in here in my demo account. I get down to it here. Okay, so if I go to this one and I go certifications here, this NEMSIS, I have an EMS over here, but I have the NEMSIS certification. So that's the 09 paramedic. That's the one that's the updated one that we need to get in there. So you need to add those. To add a new certification, you would just come in and add. It'll let you pick NEMSIS certification because that's one you have. So you got your NEMSIS. When you put this in there, it's only going to limit here this drop down to what you've put in. Okay, so it gets rid of all those others that you don't need. Okay, so we pick the paramedic, the granted date, the expiration date, any notes we want, and we can also add file here, which is, this is really nothing new. For this, you can add a file or a picture of their certificate to put in here and just click add. You can put them in here, or you can actually go to the training module. If your trainer has the appropriate levels or roles, then you can go to certifications here and you can see who has that. Like we say, we've got 13 here that are expiring or one that's expiring. So we could go in and grant them. So just like him, we'll click on Ryan here. It's never been renewed. So I can say his expiration date, we're going to change to 2020 on the 31st and save here. And then his is updated. Okay. So there's several different ways you can go about putting those in. You just want to make sure you get them put in there. So if we want to add a certification to a personnel, there again, if they've never had it, click up top. We're going to pick the personnel, pick the certification type, what certification, and then when it was granted and the expiration. So we want to track these expirations. I'm sure y'all know about that just like this, it's giving us these that we have somebody in there. And then also on our home screen, if we are admin or if that person will actually see these where they're coming up as being, needed to be addressed or coming up for expirations dates. Okay. All right. Then right here, next thing is the apparatus list. For N3, your apparatus has to be updated. So if we go to my Medic 1 here and I look at edit, okay, you're going to see that your N3, there's types here, there's also the N2, but we've got N3, so all red has to be updated to whatever it is, okay? So we save that. Now you'll see right here, you've got crew. So on this, you need to click on crew, and then what does this apparatus usually have? Not that day, but what is their normal level of care? So we'll say this is the paramedic unit, normally has 2 people for each one of these type calls. Even if you do non-transports or whatever, you can still put 2, not that big a deal, okay? And then if you have annual mileage, you want to collect that, you can collect that here. If you're tracking mileage, it will show. All right, any questions from that?
Mac, if I can interrupt here, we
Sure.
do have a question from Carl. It's he was looking at the destination, so we're going to go back there.
Yes.
And he said when he updates the state agency code, it wipes out the address. I did note that earlier today when I was doing another program similar to this. So I think
Yes.
we're having this information, Carl and everybody else online, we're going to have to look into that to see if we have an issue in the system where it's not saving that data correctly.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah. If that's the case,
we will get to that.
Should do that.
We'll do some testing later today and see if we have an issue.
This is
Krista?
Krista. Yes, so that is managed usually by us. What I do is I will get the information from the state and put the address into the system in Uber. And then when the customer selects it, whatever address I have populated in Uber will populate in their account. So usually that information is taken directly from the state or the NEMSIS website. So if there are any issues where you're noticing that a destination has an incorrect address, please either submit a support ticket and then they will escalate that to me and I can get it changed on our end very quickly for you.
Awesome. All right. Okay. Any other questions? Anybody?
Mac, no, we don't.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So I believe that is everything in the setup that needs to be done. Okay. In here. So let's take a look at an actual call and how the new system looks. So we'll go to instance, same as the N2 as far as how to the NEMSIS 2, same thing to turn it on. So we'll make a blank one here. This is one that's come into mind like a CAD call had come in. So we'll go to basic info 1, fill out what we need here. Today's date, we'll say it's a 3/21, so everything is filled in there. And go next. Now we're at the basic info 2 page, and we'll just turn on, yes, we need that for the PCR. So we'll go next. We'll notice the PCR tab comes up. So we're at the address. I'll put in just a few things so we can get it working like we want. Some of the things I have here, I'm gonna just do 419, which is residential. I hope y'all have noticed this will come up also now, but now based on your property use, once you click off of property use, notice that come up for me, so I don't have to actually put that in there again. Once you do this one, it will bring that in for you. Okay, so we can go next. All right, and now we're on our basic 4, which is our apparatus stuff. If you have CAD, sometimes this will come in for you. Okay, so we're going to say that our date was today, time was at 0800, dispatch notified today at 0810, and the initial responding arrived on unit. Today we're going to say we were quick today, so we got there at 0804. Okay, now we have our add apparatus, so we're going to add an apparatus here. We're going to say that it was medic 1, so our type and use comes in just like they used to, no problems there. Our response was emergent. We're going to say today's date. Now CAD would have filled these in for us, but since we don't, I'm just giving the initial time, put this on here, and then I can actually come in and go through and make those changes if I need to. So we were en route at 02, arrived on scene at 04, arrived at patient. We're going to say that was 0410. Transfer of patient care. Now this is if we transferred care to another, which I'm going to just say this is going to be a refusal. So I don't need that. Cleared scene at 8:20. There was no landing zone. There was no destination. No transfer of patient care at destination. No cleared destination. In quarters we don't need. In service, so we're going to say we were in service at 20. Okay, so I'm just throwing some times in there just to make it a little bit easier for us. Okay, now if I had the roster, I could hit fill from roster, they'd put on there. I don't have that right now, so I'm going to say that this was a shift that I picked earlier. So I'm going to put that it was Ryan and Aaron was on this call. So I have my personnel in there. So I can push next. We'll check and make sure, yes, that's green. Now we'll go to basic info 5. There's going to be some new things here on 5, this EMS info, a little bit different look for N3. Was this a mass casualty event? No, it's just yes, no, or not applicable here. Complaint reported by dispatch. We're going to say it was a fall. Okay. And then primary action taken, however y'all are doing that now, is whatever you're doing now is the same there, no problem. Okay, so no other required, we can go next. Now we're in the PCR. This is the new PCR look for N3. So we'll add new patient here. And then this is the look coming down the screen now for our red light, green light, just like it was before. Okay, now you see these in here, it has the medic 1 or the M1. It is not selected until it is darkened in. Okay, first unit on scene, yes. Notice here we still have the red asterisk, which means a required field. So we're on type of service requested, was a 911 response, instant patient disposition. Everything over here and with your N3 is all geared by your patient disposition, okay? So when we're coming in, we want to drop this down. All right, so we drop that down, and then we can pick. Now we're going to say that this particular one, we're going to say patient refused evaluation care without transport, okay? Then that will go green, a green check mark. Your EMS transportation method, your primary role, these are taken from that information you filled out on the apparatus, okay? Initial patient acuity, we're going to just say was low acuity here. Now your crew members, remember I'm doing the report, that's why I'm in here. And then my two that I picked coming in. Now why these are red right now is they need their roles, okay? So I'm gonna put me as a other, driver, and then this particular one would be primary caregiver at scene. Okay, so now they're green, everything is good there. Okay, any types of delays, we can put no delays. And you see that's one of those quick buttons that filled everything out for me. Okay, remember my times that I put in, they'll come over here. For some reason, if I was using a different vehicle, like say, let me click back over to basic info 3 here, or 4, excuse me. When we go to 4, if we've got our vehicles in here and we go to add vehicle, you know that these, if you have them different use, so let's pick a 1253, which is a suppression, it's a pumper. You see my differences here as to what information I can, or what times I can put in. If I take this to EMS, now look at the differences. So you've got more times you can put in. If for some reason you didn't change that and you had a patient transported or whatever, for, you know, this is actually a pumper, so they wouldn't transport, but they would actually have a transfer of patient care, they would put that in here, then it would go over to that, to this area in the EMS report or the PCR. Down here, it would come in to that transfer of patient care here. So those times will come over if they're there. If not, you can just put it right here that you transferred the patient care over to the ambulance or the crew or whatever there. All right. No questions, we'll go to patient information. We click on that. So we'll put John Smith. And Todd, do you remember the date I was using on this?
It's 1 November 1966.
Okay.
And Carl, you're Mason County FD, correct?
So here is my previous, this is where we were talking about that frequent flyer, or I guess the proper term is super user for our patients we run a lot, okay?
Yeah, that's the new politically correct term.
Yeah, politically correct term. So this is where I was saying it's going to give you your patient info, your medical history here, and billing information on this patient, so whatever you put in there. So we can put, yes, pre-fill this PCR. Notice my patient information went green, medical history is green, but we'll look through here just to see what all it does. So everything that I put on this patient previously will flow over, okay, or fill in. Medical history here, if we go to the medical history site, Okay, there we go. All right, so you see the doctor, any known allergies, types of immunizations. In other words, everything we've put in. Now, anything, that's, medications, doctors and all love to change those. So if it's anything new, they've changed, we can adjust those during this call now. Okay. All right, then patient care. Now in patient care, you're going to see the initial assessment. This one here, we have discussed, we're unable to change it at this time just because of the reasons, so we can put not applicable or whatever in there that you need to. Last known well, we could put now, and notice this here, time should be before 9/5/8/20. What that's looking at is, remember, we finished this call at 8:20. So it will let you know that if times are without or out of whack, they're out of time of the actual on scene time. So we'll make that at 08:15. Same
Hey,
thing
Mac,
here.
just so you
Yes.
know, there is a little bit of a lag or delay on the screen as what we're seeing and what you're saying, just FYI.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. So we won't fill out a bunch of this. We're just trying to get to a little bit of it so that we can sort of correct it. So we're going to say 0815 again. Okay. Or we'll actually take that up to 07. So this is the onset of symptoms, come right before they call. Okay. So any barriers, none noted, complaints, your primary symptoms, your impression, and all that is in here. And it will start building this down through here. Vitals, when you come to vitals, obtained prior, no. Your vitals of when you done them, here again, it's giving you those times. 8:4 to 8:20 was when you actually was at the patient. So that's what it's looking at there. We can say that Aaron got them, and we'll say it was today's date, so we can put now just to make it in there, and we'll say that we got these at 08:06. Okay. Now, what was their posture? He was supine. Heart rate was about 88, regular. We palpated that. Your blood pressure, all this can come in like this. You can fill those in. Okay, respiratory rate, any of these that you have. Was it a stroke, not applicable, all this good stuff. Okay. Cardiac, if you had that rhythm in there. What was their pain scale? Glaucoma score, revised trauma score, whichever one you want to do here. Okay. All right, done. So then that's going to populate. Exam here. Remember that pre-fill normal exam values? This is what this does, that button here, pre-fill. So then all of these are pre-filled for you, and you can go through and change whatever is needed, so you don't have to go through this, all the buttons just to click it, normal. So, and then procedures, same thing. Was it done prior? Who did it? The certification levels, what procedure you did. We'll say we just done airway basic, whatever the case may be, you put on here. Okay. And then the results of it. And then we've got the medication, same as the procedure. Okay. And then this is that EKG data we were talking about. That's the new one coming up. Okay, for an event, in the event, here's that protocol you can say. So we can say new here. We'll just say it was a general protocol. For general, just for instance, and then that will clear out. want to hang on just a second. We'll just do the general here so it's clear. Okay. There you go. Possible injury, unknown, or whatever the case may be, and then fill out your buttons for that. Notice most everything is drop downs or just clicks, so you should be able to get through it. Once you learn a little bit of it, it goes pretty quick. Okay. Anything prior to EMS arrival, so this is your event that you're talking about here. Then your destinations, how you were transported, then you will have your destinations up here that you can click on, and then it should fill all those out for you, the rest of it. Okay, any billing information would go in here. Here's your insurance, payer type, who it is, what the insurance information is. Now remember, if I had that filled out on this patient prior, then all this would come in. Okay. And then of course your files and signatures here. Now this is where, because of this patient, I chose a specific disposition. Remember that disposition. Now I did get the HIPAA form. Notice it put the patient's name in there. They would sign, signed, and then done, and this will go green. Patient refusal. I go in, there's the patient, he signs. Then we'll scroll down, of course, the crew. Okay, I can put me in there if I would like. Then I sign. And then we have a witness. We're going to say that the popo was there, so they, they're always around when we need them to sign something. So they sign, and then we can put done here, and then this will go green, and this will go green for us. So that's all that we need to put in there. Now, if you've got any kind of, if you're doing a paper file still, you can still add a file here, pick what you've done, put a copy of it or something, or a picture or something in there, and you can upload it here. Okay. Narratives. Here's where your narrative. So you type your narrative. We came, we saw, we cured them. Okay. Now this particular area here is if it's a weird call or something you want reviewed by higher up more than what's normally reviewed in your department, you can actually mark yes. There is a report you can run or advanced search you can run that will pull all of those for whoever's doing those or doing the reviews there that can see them. Okay, any potential system care specialty here you can check. And then we'll go to our summary. Now in our summary, you'll see two things working here. You're going to see pop-ups come. So I got a validation result, which is going to be a state validation for my state. So if I show message, I have several errors here that I'm going to have to fix before I can authorize this patient. Once you have all these corrected, then the authorize will be able to come up, and you put your password in. You click authorize, put your password in, and then it will start tracking across through here. Then you can go on up and start finishing the rest of your call just like you've done before. Okay. Any questions from anybody, guys?
No, Mac, everything's good. Todd is working to help Carl out with his destinations.
Yeah, and I have an answer for Carl. It'd just be quicker to look at it. Krista and I looked at that, and you're doing it right, Carl. For whatever reason, we don't have addresses for all the hospitals in the state of Washington. Krista's going to reach out to the state and get those addresses, get that populated. So I don't know that I would make a whole lot of changes until we get that done, or copy down those addresses that you already have and type those in manually. But you're doing it right. It's something with what we've got for the state of Washington.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Well, if we don't have any questions or we have any anything from any of our staff that wants to add anything, please do. Krista, do you have anything to add?
No, not at this time. I think this was a great presentation. Like I said, when your account migrates to NEMSIS 3 and you run into any validation errors or have any questions in general, reach out to our support team. They're very knowledgeable. They'll be able to answer any and all questions you have, and if they can't, they can escalate it to the right person.
Awesome, thank you. Mark, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't, except Carl's pretty much, you let it out there. You put a blanket request out there, and he wants his taxes cut. But, which don't we all, right?
Yes, no
No,
doubt.
I think everything was covered pretty thoroughly, and I understand that these accounts that we're talking about and working with today, their accounts are going to be switched over on, is it the 16th of September? Yes. I believe it is.
September 16th.
So you'll see the changes then, and you can't do all your setup work like Mac was describing now, so you're prepared for that.
Absolutely. All right, Todd, you got anything?
No, I don't have anything. Do we want to share our email addresses, Mac? I know I'd be willing to help anybody if they got questions. Feel free to reach out to us.
Yes, sure, please.
Okay, so
mine, I'll just, Todd, if you want to put them in there, but I'll tell mine real quick. It's MAC at emergencyreporting.com, all lowercase. So y'all feel free to reach out. We'll help you any way we can. And of course, you've got our support. Remember those support links within support here. Remember to go to your knowledge base, and you will see, any of the N3 setup stuff right here. All right, and there's 10 other articles in there. And then also this video will be available to y'all at another time too. So if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. Brittney, do you have anything?
Nope, I think I'm good. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, I hope everybody got a lot out of this. And if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. As we said before, and hope all of you have a great and safe day. Thank you so much for attending.